It's so good to be together. This is our December gathering, so let's call it a holiday party. All right, we can breathe and have rock star lungs together, because it's a good thing to be able to do that. And it's the Bauman Wellness Lunch and Learn, December 8th, and Angela Marie is our guest presenter, and Angela's coming to us from Scottsdale, Arizona. And I had a lovely chat with her, warming up, getting to know her. And it gives me hope and excitement when I meet people of her caliber, you know, her commitment, her passion, her skill, her training, her education. And she's a health coach. She's a fitness person. She's a nutritionist. She's a minister. She's really what we call integrative wellness facilitator. So the Bauman world, we're working with a new concept that I brought in holistic health 50 years ago. I literally brought in the concept of holism, and what a concept, you know, it's part of ancient life, but we're in a fractionated world. But for me, the upshot of all this is integrative wellness, you know, how all the aspects of wellness work well together. And that being in a diverse community is also how we learn and grow together. That we're not all mono-tracking in a certain age or a certain demographic. And we also have different learning styles and knowledge that we share to create this great experience that we'll have today. So I'm gonna share some slides, and Angela, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit more, and we'll get into today's program. Thanks everyone for coming. If you would put your name and where you live in the chat, that would be wonderful. We could get to see some things. So say hi, Angela.
Hi everyone, how are you?
Good.
So yes, my name's Angela, and my role here at Natural Grocers, which is a grocery store that you guys have in Colorado. We also have them here in Arizona. I'm a nutritional health coach in this role. I had a nutrition practice for 6 years, worked with oncology, was my specialty, and contracted out with other doctors' offices as a nutritionist in their facility. 2020 changed my life like everyone else. And before that, I was a workhorse. So moving forward, planning on getting married, and my fiance asked me if I would please stop working 15 to 20 hours a day, literally, to be more present and give some of that back to our house. So I dissolved my practice and I worked with Banner Hospital. And, you know, working with Western medicine is very interesting. And I really appreciated my experience there because it let me know more about really what my goals were and how I wanted to help people, and also what part of organization I wanted to be part of. So started looking for other jobs, and I actually, between Natural Grocers and another holistic, there's a holistic cancer facility out here in Arizona. You know, when someone is very stressed and going through a traumatic experience, it's a very difficult, especially age being a component, right, to try to share a lifestyle change, because that's really what we're implementing. You know, a lot of people assume, you know, you can't take my sugar away, you can't take my coffee away. It's not about that. It's about adding a different experience into your life. So, you know, when people learn to add or, you know, to balance, you know, that is key. And that's what I love about holistic health. It's not taking away, it's actually giving.
Platforms.
So reminder, folks on the call, if you mute your background, it'll be easier for us. Thanks. Let's get into the talk. Angela, you ready?
Absolutely. So yes. So rockstar lung and respiratory health with healthy eating and living. Of course, we have to keep it a little business. We're going to go through the disclaimer just to remind everyone that the class is not intended to diagnose, treat, or mitigate any disease. Dietary supplements and food. Oops, let me move this here. My sincere apologies. Can interact with prescription medications. So if you're taking any prescription medication, please come informed about those interactions. Next slide. Now, Natural Grocers is an amazing company, and what separates us from other grocery stores is organic living and my role. We have 5 founding principles because of Margaret Isley, the founder of Natural Grocers. Very amazing woman, look her up. And because of her, we have a focus on education for nutrition, which falls on free coaching classes, free coaching sessions, free nutrition classes. I do outreaches, I go to schools, I stay into the store, any way that we can guide people to give back their health. High quality standards such as organic food, organic produce. Natural Grocers since the 80s has had a list of 320 items and growing of items they just will not allow into the store, which is amazing. Doesn't mean these items are bad. It just means that whatever research they've done, they chose to give a better quality substitute. We support local communities, as you see, and then we have great employees. So, momentous task. Every day, you breathe 20,000 breaths over 2,000 gallons, okay? 2,000 gallons of air to bring oxygen into the body. That's enough to fill up a swimming pool. So why does the body work so hard to bring in oxygen? Well, we've got muscle contraction, cellular growth, reproduction and repair, brain function and cognition, elimination, and toxins of waste. Next slide. Oh, and one thing that I wanted to point out in the chart is as you're breathing in, you're also taking out carbon dioxide, right? So it's so important to get those full, fresh breaths of air to fully also eliminate trapped air that gets stuck into our lungs. Other functions of this respiratory system removes carbon monoxide. The warm moisture also filters the air and prepares for that gas exchange. So talking, singing, believe it or not, all help to culminate just any physical action that's going on into the body, right? Any reactions. And this is a defense for microbes and other harmful substances. You can see here in the chart, just some key organs, which we're not really going to go over, but just some key players in the game to what's very important. Just like our alveoli, that is going to be the branches in our lungs. So those guys are what help fill everything. We're getting into it, right? We've got factors affecting lung and respiratory health. So these factors are going to be huge because we're not just talking about, what we're consuming, right, or how we're breathing. We've got oxidative stress. We have other immune dysfunctions. We have possible genetics, right, on top of aging, and then inflammation, right? And inflammation is really always going to be the center of trying to find where the cause came from, right? So what can create that inflammation that may not be connected to genetics? Smoking, poor nutrition, sedentary lifestyle, air pollution, poor sleep, trauma, microbes, and stress. One thing that I can't stress enough is, especially with poor nutrition, foods can also give the body certain things like oxygen and things like that. So it really does work hand in hand. So we don't just have to focus on the involuntary, breath, right, to help support our body. Along with a pool-sized amount of air comes a slew of air pollutants, especially nowadays, right? So those can directly irritate the lungs, the pathways, and this provokes oxidative stress and increases lung inflammation. Short-term effects, of course, we know when we get sick, we have coughing that will contribute to, if we can't get rid of it right, deep pneumonia, bronchitis, and then other chronic respiratory diseases. The long-term effect is, other diseases, what would be considered chronic, such as asthma or emphysema. The thing that we're going to do today is we're going to go through each individual reason, right? So we're going to start with environment, and how these things can truly, really impact us, because we know that we are affected, but we may not know the full gravity of why it's so important to focus on our air quality. right? So of course you walk outside. What do we have? We got our capital of industry, just neutral, Mother Nature, fires. Then we have fires from waste management. Agricultural practices are going to be huge. In fact, they now take over most of the population in the world, most of the land. So that's a big deal. And then, of course, we have transportation, and not just on the roads anymore. We have them up above us, right? So, this particulate matter, these very small particles, are what the concerns are when it comes to affecting our lung function. So, very briefly, I'm just going to go into the study of the US and abroad that have found acute and long-term exposure to these particles. Long-term exposure to the fine particles were linked to the decrease in lung function and increased respiratory system. So in cities that have poor air quality, there's definitely going to be a change from someone in a large city versus, a smaller town. Industrial agriculture. Like I was saying, this is going to be a big hitter for all of us. And you know why we're saying this? We just talked about demographics, right? Where do you live? Agriculture has been linked to the increase of outdoor pollution, but definite negative effects in respiratory health. Farmers are not just getting those acute symptoms we were talking about, coughing, wheezing, they're becoming chronic, asthma, serious lung disease. Pesticides drift into other atmospheres in other towns over, depending on where the airstream is, right? So nearby residents are also getting affected by the spray off. So more than 400 pollutants, can you guys believe that, have been found around CAFO facilities. Does anyone know what CAFO means?
No.
Basically, confined animal, it's basically using animals in factory settings.
Okay.
And because the environment is not properly caring for the animals, properly keeping things clean, spraying other things, those facilities really affect not only the people, the animals in it, but the residents around them, traveling for several miles. So 2019, greater likelihood that they're seeing in residents in that community for asthma and other poor lung functions, unfortunately. Agriculture, we now know more about why. We're exposed to 400 particles everywhere we go or more, right? So let's move into the home, because believe it or not, just like we were talking about the lungs and our air getting stuck in there, right? We've got to make sure that carbon monoxide moves out. Same thing with your home. Your home gets trapped, especially right now. It's wintertime, right? No one's opening their windows for sure to air the home out. So the home is one of the most important places to definitely try to give the best air quality for yourself that you can. The home assessment we have here, you're more than welcome to take a picture of this page, go through your home, look at certain things. If you're having experiences with acute, right? Because these are just symptoms for, if you take care of acute, you possibly will not experience chronic. So if you're going through your home, you wake up in the morning and you're congested and maybe you have an air purifier you don't feel like is working. Let's look at some of these things. Did you recently renovate or clean, right? That's going to be huge. Have you recently painted? Do you live near a highway or yourself? Maybe you need to find out if you live within 6 to 7 miles of an agriculture farm. And then does your home show any signs of mold or any water damage? And those are tricky, as we know, to find, right? So, go around your house and really look at what could potentially be an issue. Now, I do like to tell everyone that there are things out there for the home. There are UV lights that properly installed. Just remember that. Please do not install them yourself, but properly installed in the right area when you turn your air and heat on. it can kill the pathogens. And a lot of people don't know that things like this exist. You won't see a UV light from the vents, but it's a wonderful system, and they're fairly inexpensive and very affordable. And again, that just helps kill the pathogens as it's going through. So you can use that air system as your benefit. Of course, we're going to go to unhealthy diet because that's my job. So these are just contributors, because when you don't feed your body properly, it's going to work in dysfunction. So when you're adding genetics, when you're adding all these other players into the game, you don't really have anything to give back to the body. So when you have a balanced diet, you're able to give more and feed your organs, right? So they can work properly. So standard American diet is not something that generally allows you to do that, right? We have a lot of processed foods, a lot of sugars, and what's really becoming a forefront now is added sugars. So, a couple of years ago, we just had to focus on how much sugar, and now there's added. So, and thank goodness for that, because we should know what's added and then what is currently flowing, like if you were to buy a juice, right? So inflammatory fats and fruits and vegetables. I want to briefly explain inflammatory fat versus healthy fat. Bacon, inflammatory. Coconut oil, healthy. So there are healthy fats that actually feed the body. And we won't go too much into that, but I did want to, people seem to be very confused about fats. And so I just wanted to give that little bit of information. Let's look over to my right, to the percent of US population. We can see all here the main necessary usual nutrient intakes that are far below what they should be. So vitamin D is, unfortunately, number one, especially for Americans. We are the working culture, and we're not getting a lot of vitamin D. Definitely do your research. One thing that I would share with clients and patients are in the morning and in the evening, you really want to avoid from like 11 a.m. to 4. But in the morning and in the evening, if you go out for about 15, 20 minutes a day with no sunscreen, depending on your health, you can get your full amount of vitamin D. You could even do 10 minutes in the morning and 10 minutes, watch the sunrise, watch it set, and that will give you enough to supply. So vitamin D is going to be a heavy hitter when it comes to lung care. So it's really unfortunate that we're lacking that. But definitely take a picture of this chart and just see overall what's going on in the United States. So our whole community, it's not just it's every state combined that we're seeing this.
So let's say hi, folks. How are we doing out there?
It's
All right. So, I think it's always good to kind of summarize and go, where are we at? What did we learn? And for me, it's like air pollution is terrible. And air pollution is like we're picking up debris from so many different places. So the problem, is really a toxic environment that's also compounded by stress and dietary problems, for people who, are stuck with that. There was a question about the ultraviolet purifier. Could you give us a little more, like who makes it, or how do you find it? What do you look for? Any of that stuff. Things can go from inexpensive to very expensive, and
honestly, I saw.
What are we looking at as a cost if we're going to?
$140. Now, with the articles I've read, you do want to get it professionally installed, and I do not have the quote for that. Okay. I actually installed one on my own, and I put it more like in the middle. Uh-huh. But I am by means no expert. And throughout my own research, there are many sites, which you have to take with a grain of salt because they could be selling, right? But there are many sites that say, you want to make sure you put it in a proper place of flow. Because if you're not, if you're putting that light somewhere where it's, at the end, right, then you're not really going to be able to have the effectiveness that you would like. But just look online. You can Google it. There are actually a couple different companies. And like I said, you can buy the lights individually. But as far as brands, things like that, I've had one of these for quite some time. That's why I always share that news, because I've had one for about a decade.
That's good.
So yeah, this is not new news. This is just unfortunately things that, out of all the things that are trending,
I get it. No,
one
I
of
think
them.
it's important. There was a question also about water filters, and because contaminants, in the water are also going to create inflammation and aggravation and affect things. Do you have any suggestion on water filtration?
So water is a tricky subject.
Sure.
It really is. And I don't know if Dr. Bauman has ever had, I researched water for 3 years.
Oh boy.
And you know what? I came to the conclusion. The theory of our ancestors, going and drinking spring water filled with nutritious minerals and things that are reoccurring.
Yeah.
Right? That is the thought we have today. Now, but if we look back at our ancestors, they weren't drinking water. They were making mead. They were making teas. And you know why? Because the water still had parasites.
Yeah, they
still
had
unfriendly organisms. But now, because of where we're at in society, now we have even more inflammation. Now we're just drinking straight up toxins, right? So this is what I can say about water.
Okay.
Am I interested about the Kangen water system?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Now, are you still using packets in this system? Absolutely. That's why I've never bought one. What I like to do is when I think about water, I think about balance.
Mm-hmm.
What can I add to this water?
Okay.
Because water takes from you, right?
Mm-hmm.
You want to add something into water, whether it's teas, some sort of infusion. You can do cell food, CELLFOOD. We would actually, when I worked with oncology, that was very popular.
What is cell food?
Water,
what is cell food?
Giving. Oh, cell food is amazing. It's a mineral liquid.
Right.
And you put a few drops and it helps oxygenate. Yeah. So water's tricky, but put things in it. Teas. What can you drink that's going to give to your body is the best solution. Yeah, for sure.
All right. Is there anyone else, without having a commercial and a sales pitch, suggest water filtration system that they feel is pretty reliable and, moderately priced? Yeah, Patty?
You'll have to do your own research.
I'm going to ask Patty because
I've been using Multi-Pure for years. I think it's really good, but nothing filters out fluoride. And
or prescription drugs.
Right. So, and I lived in Santa Rosa, which we don't have fluoridation in the water, and we're fighting to keep it that way.
Yeah.
One of the few, towns.
I understand.
So Multi-Pure is one, but otherwise you got to get into, reverse osmosis and then put back the minerals. It's a pain. And it's so expensive. It's $1,000 at least to get that kind of a filtration system.
And with reverse osmosis, you want to be tricky because, again, I could only research water for 3 years because you will drive yourself crazy. But with reverse osmosis, from what I understand and my own research, short term for human consumption is perfect. But what I believe is for long term, it's actually doing the opposite. If you wanted to do reverse osmosis for farm, your own farm water, things like that, that's great. But a lot of people don't know how corrosive it is. If I were to put a reverse osmosis machine and do all that in my home, all of the tubes would need to be plastic or a type of rubber, because if I added them with metal, so I don't know if reverse osmosis over a long amount of time is actually the answer either. So Yeah.
Let me make
Water's tricky.
a concluding comment on this one. And this would be a
Yeah.
good lunch and learn topic. So
Absolutely.
if anyone in the room wants to, do some study and provide some legit information on water, that'd be good. And I'll keep that in my mind.
Yeah.
Any level of filtration is better than none.
Right. Exactly.
Yes.
And even my wife, who's out hiking in Alaska now, she has a kind of a straw that she uses because,
The life straw.
I'm saying, so you get what you pay for from a Brita filter to,
Yes. Which are not good.
No, I'm saying, but
it's better than nothing.
A little bit. And then I do appreciate the notion of adding minerals and herbs and lemon to water. I think there's something to be said for that. And then I think, like a lot of things, I've tried a few different systems. They last for a while, but not forever. And the filters can get boggy. And so I think being a connoisseur of water is like being a connoisseur of tea or a connoisseur of wine. I don't drink wine, but you go, that's some good water there. Yeah. And if I go to a restaurant and the water's too chlorinated, I go, I don't want that water. Right. But, again, I think what we're going to do is go back to the slides, because the adding nutrients to protect and strengthen is pretty much how we hold the equilibrium with the difficulties that we're experiencing. So,
so the gut-lung axis and dysbiosis, that's a pretty big word. And dysbiosis has been basically implicated in the development of chronic lung disorders. These would be, COPD, asthma, just reoccurrent respiratory infection, right? Chronic bronchitis, things of that nature, chronic pneumonia. That's definitely a huge sign of inflammation. So increasing the microbiome is really what, especially the lung, any area that has mucus, really quick education about mucus. Certain parts of the body have it, mouth, lungs, and it's there to protect. But when we put too much mucus into areas where it should not be, or areas where it is, what begins to happen is, because it's infected, our body flushes mucus over this lung, right? And now we have all of this mucus on the lung. And while this may be a little bit of an over-exaggeration, what starts to happen is the mucus wants to protect the skin, protect it to make sure that it stays healthy. But the mucus begins to irritate it. And so now we have disease, we have imbalance in our microbiome, right? Because now, and this is where autoimmunes come in. So this is really like where, things start to become chronic, and then our body does what it does best. It's like, oh my gosh, we got to protect ourselves. Let's throw in more mucus. And it's nothing that we can or cannot do, other than give to our bodies, right? To make sure it has the proper nutrients to work to remove the mucus and to help with inflammation. So healthy lung environment definitely is effective in infection and clearance. And that's the most important thing, is that immune modulation, right? And I love this chart because, like I said, anywhere in the body that holds mucus, and it does show the colon as well. But very important just to know that and to see how your body can quickly start to become, chronic in a sense.
I want to make a quick comment, okay?
Yeah.
Mucus is not the problem. Mucus is the solution. Irritants are the problem, you see? Mucus is the body's way of capturing, irritants, antigens, toxins. So just kind of, decongesting without getting rid of some of these aggravants will lead to deeper level of disturbance.
Yes.
Again, mucus is no fun, but mucus is kind of soft and coating and protective. It's part of our lymphatic system.
Absolutely. And if we were really going to get into it, talk about microbiome, which we won't in this class, but, like Dr. Bauman said, he said a very good point that I did not bring up. you know, the mucus does stay down there with the microbes that are bad for you, that are just growing. And so it's very important, you know, even though it's kind of gross when people are sick and I see them kind of like talk a little bit and then swallow. I don't care where you are, find a place, get that out. You know what I mean? Get it out. I can't say that enough. Don't worry about being disrespectful. I mean, run to the restroom or something. But of course, we know about smoking. A lot of us grew up with it. And unfortunately, we've seen a lot of our family members pay the price, right? So, you know, there's really nothing to go into this with smoking. Of course, the oxidative stress we talked about in the last slide, thickening the mucus, alters the immunity. And then, you know, we're going back to the main guy, which is inflammation. So 25% of Americans spend more than 8 hours a day sitting. Mm-hmm. That's going to be another deadly silent killer, right? Just like inflammation. And then 44% report that no moderate or vigorous physical activity all week. You know, if people, you know, I get asked all the time, you know, well, I went on a nice walk. And they'll share, you know, as a beautiful stroll. And that's wonderful. You know, slow movement is great for the joints. But if you, you know, really wanted to get your heart rate going, you know, you really wanted to get your heart and kind of get everything moving quicker, you know, just make it a little bit more brisk. You know, I know it sounds silly, but if you kind of walk like this, that's what's really going to get the body going. It's going to get the lymphatic system moving. And that's where the power comes in. Like, I love those strolls. Walking on the beach, so beautiful. But, you know, if you kicked it up a notch, you would really start to feel the impact, the warmth, the oxygen moving through your blood. Everyone, I know I can't hear you, but breathe. It's a sign of relief. So by making simple changes to our diet, lifestyle, supplementation regimen, we can really support lifelong lung and respiratory health. So there are some powerful, I mentioned one of the big guys, but go ahead and take a picture of those supplement list. You know, how long has it been since you guys have had your last blood test? A regular blood panel is generally covered, but it can tell you if you need any of these things, right? It'll let you know your vitamin levels. I'm not sure about omegas. Dr. Bauman may know more about a specialty test. I'll ask him here in a minute after I read the list.
There are labs for that. Yeah.
Okay. But sure, vitamin D, magnesium, and then you have some super nutrients. You know, of course, we have the herbs. So however you want to take them, tincture, teas, put that in your water, right? NAC, which is powerful when you're talking about mitochondrial energy. That's just
and what does NAC stand for?
Oh my gosh, N-acetylcysteine.
That's correct. Good job.
It's
an amino
it took me a minute because you threw me.
That's all right.
You put me on the spot.
We're not talking code. You know, they're normal people trying to understand. Go ahead.
You're right.
Yeah.
So N-acetylcysteine is a supplement that you can take. It's an amino acid, actually.
Yeah.
And then black seed oil. You know, I personally take black seed oil, and it will not replace the omega-3s. So I just want to be clear. Omega-3s are going to be their own oil that your body desperately needs. So black seed oil definitely can oil the body, and that's wonderful. And it has a lot of what would be considered super, you know, antioxidants, if you will. But it tastes kind of like, I would say like cumin, like, am I saying that right? There's a special herb.
It's a black cumin seed is really the Western name. Black cumin seeds. It's not quite the same as Indian cumin seeds, but again, it's a powerful aromatic, you know, seed.
And it doesn't taste bad. I just put it right in my mouth and drink it back. And it's just an herb. It's refreshing. It's not like a tincture. It doesn't have that like robust, but it's wonderful. And I do it every morning, and it has other wonderful properties that can be supportive of liver health. So definitely take a picture of that, you guys, and just research a bit. Make sure you're going to reputable websites, you know, even me, I used to have a practice. My practice's name was Clean Motives. You just want to make sure that whoever's on the other end of that camera has, some degrees and a why as to what they're sharing, right? But this is some powerful stuff, and this is really going to help start to get you on the right track. So we have the diet and lifestyle, of course, good breathing. There are breathing exercises out there. We won't get into that, but maybe another time for a luncheon. Stop smoking, right? The physical activity, and then we're going back to the air quality. And you can see the diagram. I mean, they all overlap.
There are wellness panels that have D, or one can do a single D. I can order it for people if need be. Yeah.
And for people that live in Colorado or any state that has a natural grocers, we actually do have a list that we can give. The nutritional health coach can give of specific tests. Now, some of the laboratories may not be covered, but it definitely can at least open your mind to what's available that you may have never even heard of before. So while the tests may be, some of them unaffordable because your insurance doesn't cover them, it can open your eyes to a world that you may not have known of, right? So definitely take advantage of your nutritional health coaches. I mean, it's free. You can't get much better. And the packets they give are fantastic. I mean, I wish I would have been a little bit more structured. Looking back, they're quite wonderful. So moving on to the meal wheel. This is something that was created with natural grocers. So this has nothing to do with the government plate. They used to have a wheel now, or a pyramid. Now they have a plate. The plate is the concept here, but everything else is different. So here we're looking at a plate, and the first thing we notice, half of it is filled with vegetables, right? Now, even though this is all green, you can notice an array of color. And the color on the plate is what is best when we're looking at a balanced meal. Not just one color, right? We have purples and yellows and blues and greens. So feel free to take a picture of this plate too. I know it only says, it's just a good guide, right? Half that plate should be vegetables. What can you add that gives a good portion? Now, when it comes to quality protein, right, we talked about quality and healthy. So quality proteins are agricultural facilities that actually give back to the planet. We're not talking about the CAFO operations, right, where they just manufacture animals. We're talking about companies that want to give back to the environment, that don't feed GMO products to their animals, that don't stuff them in small spaces. So now they're overcrowded and they're full of bacteria, right? They're not seeing the sun. So there's a huge difference between, healthy meat and unhealthy meat that we're eating. And think about that. So we're eating pesticides. We're eating hormones. Talk about hormone balance, right? We're all experiencing that, myself as well. So, when you think about clean meat and you're thinking, oh my gosh, this doesn't have pesticides, this doesn't have hormones, these things really do affect you, and so quality protein is going to be really the main focus. Now, also, I just wanted to specify and go one more time back to protein here, because you can see that it's just a small amount. So what does quality protein look like in the proper amount that I'm supposed to be eating each meal? Take your hand, stick that bad boy out right here, literally. The palm of your hand should be as much meat, because it's about the quality. Do you know that organic products, organically raised meat, and our animals have way more nutrition than the cheaper stuff? So in theory, spend the extra $3, take one hand and wrap it around with your other hand. This is about the size of your stomach. And let's be real, in a culture where we're all missing meals, take one hand off. So when we're gorging ourselves, with the lack of nutrition, and then we wonder why we're hungry later, that's a huge sign that you should have taken a picture of this plate, just as a reminder, what does balance look like? so I can heal, so I can begin to heal and understand my body is stuck with me, right? I've got to take care of it. So then we look at the healthy fats. That's going to be fresh, untouched with heat olive oil. Olive oil is amazing for you, but it changes radically. If you're looking for a high temp oil, almond oil is actually fantastic, and coconut oil. I know that those are nut oils. To me, Dr. Bauman may know of another one. Do you know of another oil that you can cook with that's high that doesn't change too much chemically, Dr. Bauman?
Usually coconut oil.
Yeah, I mean, it's very limited, but all of these oils on them.
I'm saying you don't really want to be cooking high heat anyway.
Stepping more into those rockstar foods, respiratory health. And really, this is also, this research is by the American Gut Project, right? And they found that eating a greater variety, all those colors, of plants throughout the week does really support the diverse microbiome that we're trying to support, you know, and it also in return promotes healthy lung. So broccoli sprouts, oh my gosh, especially if you guys love to juice those. And they provide the sulforaphane, which supports healthy detoxification in the body. And it really does help balance the free radicals in the lung. Heating broccoli impairs that. So just be aware of that. If you guys like broccoli, pre-cut it up, you know, so that way you can just snack on it, right? In a study of over 2,000 people, we're going to mention an herb. Everyone knows about it nowadays, turmeric. Greater consumption of curcumin-rich curry was associated also with healthy lung function. Practice good breathing. When we breathe through our nose, air passes through a number of structures being filtered, it's warmed, and it's actually humidified, believe it or not. So breathing from our nose is the best. When we breathe through our mouths, we bypass that process, and increased germs and allergens get into the lungs, also stay in the mouth, but get into the lungs, and you don't have that drying and cooling effect, right? So it kind of throws off the whole homeostasis. So be mindful of your breathing. Keep those mouths shut and reduce stress. Keep nasal passages moist. This is a sensitive subject for me, so research all your companies, right? With nasal washes and sprays. And just remember to stay hydrated. You know, it keeps the mucus thin and moist around the nose. Physical activity. This keeps coming up, and you know, it's super important. And one of the reasons is why you're breathing. You're breathing deep. You're getting things moving. You're moving those stagnant areas, right? So you're sitting less and moving more, and that's what's so important because it strengthens the respiratory muscles. And that power, that inhalation, that exhalation, right, is just a constant gas exchange, and it's allowing the body to fully work properly, right? When we sit and watch TV or we sit in an office, you know, and we work all day, we're breathing pretty shallow. So we're not really moving the way our body needs to. So focusing on the outdoor quality and then the indoor quality. Check the air quality index. Definitely write that down. airnow.gov is a great website and resource to use for that. That way, if you do want to exercise outside, you can avoid days where it may not be the best. Also, remember, driving on busy roads, driving on the freeway is going to definitely put you in a more concentrated area of pollution. Again, indoors, air quality is going to be huge, and, you know, invest in those, look at the lights I was mentioning, check out the air purifiers. You know, are you interested in the HVAC filters regularly, which are the filters that actually just you would buy at Home Depot and put them up? You know, a lot of us, believe it or not, those things are supposed to be changed every month. I don't do it either, right? And some of those you can actually buy very quality, high ones. And nowadays, thank gosh for Bluetooth, some of them you can actually hook up to your phone and it will tell you when it needs to be changed. So definitely get to your Home Depot. When was the last time you changed that air filter up there? Cleaning products, believe it or not, your household cleaning products, really, game changer. Clean rugs and carpets regularly, of course, make sure those dust mites are down, and buy indoor plants. What indoor plants, you say? There are actually a few, but snake plants are ones that NASA swear by, that actually purify. They said you put one snake plant in each room and you won't even have to have an air purifier. Is that true? I don't know. But you can go to the NASA. I would have to give Dr. Bauman that information. But there was an article linked to NASA. It was very interesting that I read a few years ago. So we all, know about our 5 founding principles at Natural Grocers. We also have those 5 foundational supplements.
Yep.
And these are really things that the body, that a lot of us may not take, right? So we have our multivitamin, we have our omega-3s, but here are the heavy hitters, that magnesium, the vitamin D, just an extra super nutrient. Let's say you say, Angela, I'm okay with my multivitamin. I hear you. I understand people do not want to be taking pills, and I have personal opinions about that as well. So how can we give back in other ways? We have powder forms. We have the black seed oil. We have herbs that are filled with tons of flavonoids and if you only knew how live your food and drinks could be, it's amazing, So, whole food supplementation, it can be powder and liquids as well. So definitely, I always tell everyone, in a world where, consumerism reigns supreme, be creative, because I promise you there is something out there for you that can be whole food, or, it doesn't have to be in pill form. Vitamin D, I'm telling you guys, he does a lot. And through new research, they're actually finding that vitamin D is a potential master hormone, which is really cool. So definitely look up vitamin D and just how amazing. I reference vitamin D as a guy. I'm not sure why, but I always say him. But so my apologies. I love vitamin D, and he's just awesome. Please read up on him, and maintaining those adequate levels is very critical for respiratory function. So that's why vitamin D is so important. Maintains the strength and the respiratory for the muscles, balances the free radicals, modulates immune inflammatory responses, and more importantly, supports the microbiome health in the lung. And acetylcysteine. So this guy is a direct free radical scavenger. So long story short, I like to explain free radicals kind of as drunk people, right? They're bumping into things. They don't mean to, but they're destructive, right? And they're just trying to find a way home. And so, of course, then you see the sweet girl or sweet come up, hey, let's get you a cab. That's all they want. They just want to cling on to an atom, but it's still destructive. So when we have antioxidants and we talk about them, they're that nice girl at the party that's coming in. Hey guy, are you able to call a cab? And that's a fun and easy way to understand exactly what they can do in the body. If you've ever done live viewing, a live blood view, you can see they are just all over the place. I mean, they're definitely, drunk would be a good way to describe them. But anyway, they also help assist in clearing mucus. Again, just modulates inflammation and maintains a healthy lung. Black seed oil, this is going to be a natural source of omega-3, 6, and 9. Definitely when you are taking your omegas, please make sure that you have a balance of 3 and 6. Too much 6 can bring inflammation, okay? So phytosterols are the good stuff from plants. There's way too many to talk about. We have vitamin E, polyphenols are the good stuff in teas, things that you can really, your body really enjoys, helps with inflammation. And also relaxation, right? These things allow the airway muscles to work properly. Because when in stress, how are we when we're in stress? And so when we're relaxed, things work, in flow. So we're talking about herbs, right? Talking about the water earlier. Take a picture of this. Marshmallow root, high content of, I'm going to say this word wrong. I feel tongue-tied.
Mucilage.
Mucilage.
Just mucilage.
Mucilage. Thank you.
Yep,
Which
you got
coats the airways and supports comfort. Osha root, right underneath it, is going to help with, assist with blood flow to the lungs, supporting that relaxation in the airway. Also, we have immune and inflammatory response, normal mucus clearing, and again, that Osha root is profound in support for that microbial balance. Mullein, fantastic. I take that. Swear by it. Tincture form, I feel if you want a quicker response would be, in my opinion, the best, but they have capsule form, and it's wonderful for mucus clearance for sure. Yerba Santa, yerba, excuse me, is it modulates the airways as well. Again, helps to relax and calm so everything can work properly. So definitely, you know, if you're feeling something come on in the lung, these 4 things are great to continue to relax and let your lungs work properly. So we're to the last bit. I know that we shared a lot of information and I'm very grateful for you guys today. So just summarizing, get a picture of those supplements there. Just remember, you know, that healthy meal wheel, the breathing exercises. I like to do mine preferably outside of the home. And then we have the physical activity, stop smoking, any smoking. You know, a lot of people will say, oh, I don't smoke cigarettes, but I smoke this and that. And I don't judge, but smoking is smoking. I just want to be clear on that. And because air quality, we're literally not putting in good air quality in ourselves. So for many of us, it can be easy to forget the importance of keeping our lungs and respiratory system strong and healthy. So be mindful, you know, take the daily steps that we talked about today. 1, 2, 3, it doesn't matter, you know, whatever you feel comfortable with. You know, this class is just to get you excited and help you to understand just why those heavy hitters play such a key role in our lung health. Thank you all. Thank you, Dr. Bauman.
Well, of course. So let me just say a few things. If anyone wants to hang out a little longer and chat or ask questions and discuss, we'll stick around. All right. If anyone says, wow, that was a lot of good information for me to process, think about the 1, 2, or 3 things that you heard that are new and important for you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The thing that I heard that I had not thought about was adding mustard seeds to cooked cruciferouses. And a black mustard seed, well, I mean, there's lots of, I love food and food lore and culinary nutrition and all that. But a black mustard seed, just like a black cumin seed, is super powerful. You know, seeds are powerful. They're foods, they're herbs, they're spices, and they're strong. Okay, so again, some of these food sources of nutrients, every nutrient has a food source. Hard to get the right food, but nevertheless, addition is actually what strengthens us in the end because we're surrounded by a toxic soup. But then again, if you're in a home and the home is moldy, get out of the home. If the home is dusty and dirty, get out, you know, you got to clean it up. So we have to clean up the environment as best we can. And then, of course, we have to attend to our own biome and our own being as best we can and work with the practitioner. If you have a chronic issue, you have an acute issue, because there's the whole viral thing we didn't get into today. And there's a lot of viral stuff going around that affects the respiratory system. But these basic suggestions are still strengthening and purifying, tonifying to the respiratory system. So I want to thank Angela and thank Natural Grocers, because they are chain of independent natural food stores that has a commitment to
True
education,
commitment.
and they're not in California as far as I know. But if you're
No,
in the
they are not.
Southwest, they're in Arizona and Colorado, and there's a bit in Washington State.
I think we're getting some feedback. If someone would make sure that their computer's muted.
It's a mute alert, mute alert, mute alert.
Mute alert.
So, so anyhow, the last thing, just to try to wrap up and honor our time.
Yes.
If you're not part of the Bauman Wellness community, I invite you to join. It's free. You'll hear what we're doing. We have more and better all the time. And it's baumanwellness.com to join. And then, you know, we're going to post these slides so you don't have to take pictures. When you kept saying take a picture, I went, no, we can share the slides.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's all right, you know, it's fine. But we'll share the slide set and share a link to a YouTube video that you can then share with other people too, because our goal is to create wellness for all. And so we're this select group of people who took the time today to listen in and to learn and, you know, reinforce what we know and maybe pick up a couple of new tips of what we don't know. But I appreciate you coming. And I'm going to say that ends the, you know, the lunch and learn part. But if people do have questions or comments, yeah, let's get after it, you know.
Yeah, I have a couple of minutes. I want to let everyone know.
She's at work. She's at work. She's at the natural grocery store. So
right now, yes.
Pretty tight. You know, and thanks, you know, Terry and others and stuff. But let's see if there's one or two comment or questions before we call it a wrap.
Yeah, and thank you for having me, you all. I appreciate it. This is the first time working with Dr. Bauman, so very just excited to be here.
Thank you. You'll be back. She's gonna.
And I will
I'm
be back
inviting
in
her in February to do
so.
a program on detoxification, because we have toxins we have to detox to maintain well-being.
Yes.
The other thing before I say bye-bye is if anyone wants to present here, let me know. And shoot me a note at baumanwellness@gmail.com with the topic. If you are a professional and you have done some research and it's not a sales pitch, let me know, because I'm not here to pitch. I'm here to teach. Yeah. So any you know, question, comment, share before we call it for now.
Perfect.
Yes. I see. I can count on Vidu, but I'm going to come back to you, Vidu. So Armand and then Vidu, and then we'll call it. Go ahead, Armand. And it's still this mute thing. Somebody is not.
Yeah, I
mute.
cannot. It's hard for me to hear over whoever.
There's a background noise.
I have a question. Are there any foods that contain NAC? I take NAC.
I put them in the chat. So the sulfur family vegetables, garlic and broccolis and cauliflower and cabbages.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Vidu, you get the last question.
The
Amy,
host,
you're not muted.
the
If you
host,
could mute,
the
that would be
host should
great.
be able to mute everybody when they don't.
I'm
when
not.
they
I
don't-
wish
not
we
sure how to
could.
do that.
Yeah.
I'm just stepping in as a
Okay.
dual purpose, but go ahead.
Yeah, I
Amy?
apologize. I apologize for this. We'll call out one last time. Can someone just mute their computer? We would greatly appreciate it so we can finish up here.
That
Thank
was
you.
it. Family love. Thank you, family.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Vidu.
Thank you so much. That was
I know I was kind of getting
incredible. That was incredible. I actually want to listen to it all over again.
Yeah.
I'm so glad.
Process each piece of that, incredibly helpful information. My question is specifically, is there a tea recipe that you suggest, Dr. B, with the marshmallow and
Okay. Yeah, good.
the 4 ingredients?
No, I got it. So marshmallow and mullein are water-soluble herbs that make a mush. It's like flax seeds. It makes a mucilage. So you don't need them in a pill or a powder or a tincture.
Mm-mm.
They're really a cold water infusion. So if you buy one or both together, you can put it overnight and it will thicken the water, and then you can heat it up to drink it warm with some lemon juice or
Oh,
lemon
wow.
honey. Beg your pardon? Anyway, then OSHA is just wonderful. So OSHA is a plant that's a root from New Mexico. I lived in New Mexico. I dug OSHA. And it's really a very strong cleanser, detergent, and restorer of respiratory function. So
Wow.
OSHA root, if you can literally get the root with any plant, if you can literally get the plant, not the pill, the powder, the capsule, or the tincture, you will make a friend for life.
Wow.
Okay. So OSHA is the opposite of marshmallow and mullein. Marshmallow and mullein are nice, soft. And OSHA and yerba santa are more astringent and more cutting through and also flushing out mold, flushing out, embedded tissue toxins. So it's a pretty cool plant. And that could be taken as a tincture, And, for somebody who keeps getting all this mucus, they just want to get rid of the mucus, but OSHA and yerba santa would get underneath it to kind of get rid of whatever has lodged in this sensitive tissue, which unfortunately will lead to lung disease and will lead to lung cancer. So the problem with people with these chronic issues is it's actually deep in there, and then it gets kind of smoothed over, but it doesn't get, really, really cured. But let's just say it's somebody like your mom. She's delicate. She's older. You got to go gentle with these, hard hitters. But a drop here and a drop there could be quite nice. The other thing we didn't mention is essential oils. And essential oils in diffusers is very, very nice. It's pleasant. It's antimicrobial. It improves respiration, oxidation. So why not?
Now I have a question.
One more thing, since I got a minute here.
No worries.
Also, black seed is very powerful. Okay, black seed is no lightweight thing. The Muslims say that it's the cure for all disease except death.
Yes.
and that's good medicine. They know, there's a whole kind of, all native traditions have good medicine, and they love Nigella, which is black seed. And again, you can literally buy the seed or buy the oil or buy the capsule, but it's like black sesame. It's black cumin seed. It's pretty cool, and it's good to use, and you don't want to heat it. Yeah. Comment, question?
Yes. I was kind of, do you have a website that you would actually be able to let us know where you would buy roots? Like I let everyone on a good herb website, but I've never seen a website specifically for roots.
Eesh, I don't know. It's a good question, but at the moment I don't have an easy answer.
Yeah, they are very difficult to find. But yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So I think we're going to call it a wrap. This has been a really good session, and it's nice to be with you guys, you all. And we'll be doing 2 a month going into next year. We're part of this earth, and we're part of the renewal and the restore and the renaissance that's happening. So there's a lot of noise in the destruction, but the renaissance is quiet and inner, and we're certainly part of that. And by showing up here, it shows that we're plugged into this integrative wellness, locally and globally. So thank you for coming, friends. We'll see you next time. Stay well, be well, love.